Discover the touching moment a single mother's call revealed an unexpected bond with the CEO. Emily sat cross-legged on the worn carpet of their small living room, surrounded by a kaleidoscope of science project chaos. Colored markers, foam core boards, and sticky notes emblazoned with Lily's exuberant doodles filled the space. A palpable excitement crackled in the air as the clock ticked closer to Lily's big presentation. Nervous energy coursed through Emily like a live wire. The stakes felt high, not just for Lily, but for their entire humble existence. In the shadows of this bubbling anticipation, her phone rang. The name on the screen sent a chill through her. Andrew Sullivan. She hesitated. Memories of their high school days flashed unbidden to her mind. Andrew, the confident athlete, heading into the world of promise and privilege, and Emily, fighting to transcend her modest beginnings, filled with dreams she sometimes doubted. Their divergent paths had always loomed like dark clouds between them. With a deep breath, she finally answered. Emily? It's been a while. His voice was smooth, practiced, a reminder of the corporate world she quietly resented. I know who you are, she replied bluntly, every syllable dripping with skepticism. Conversations like this made her uneasy. Did he think he could charm his way into her life? As they exchanged pleasantries, Emily felt the familiar tug of two conflicting sides, the want to reconnect with someone from her youth and the urge to protect her personal world from corporate interference. Their dialogue shifted effortlessly from their school days to adulthood, laughter breaking the tension, but Emily couldn't shake an underlying unease. Andrew's laughter felt loud against the backdrop of her struggles, reminding her of the struggles she faced alone: the bills, her job at the clinic, and the relentless pressure to ensure a future for Lily. Just then, Andrew's tone shifted. I wanted to discuss something important, a decision that may affect the clinic you work for. Panic shot through her veins. What do you mean? As he divulged plans for a potential corporate expansion, Emily's heart sank. This wasn't just business to her, this was the dedicated space where she knew every patient by name, the heart of her community. Ambition was smashing into responsibility, and she felt trapped in their collision. Before they could veer back to sentimentality, he proposed an opportunity that shimmered with promise, a way to contribute in ways she had only dreamed. The pitch was enticing, yet like a cold wave dousing her initial optimism, it threatened everything she had invested in her work and her town. She struggled to breathe. Should she sacrifice a piece of her soul for an escape, or hold steady, as she had always done for Lily? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. The conversation took on a life of its own, spiraling back and forth between old memories and the harsh realities of adulthood. Emily's insides twisted with conflicting desires and obligations, the dream of a better life versus the responsibility for the people who depended on her. When Andrew suggested they find a way to address the clinic's future together, Emily's pulse quickened. Could she bridge the gap between her fierce dedication to her community and a potential future she had long stopped believing she could reach? The moment hung heavy, and as the call ended, she sat in silence, feeling that familiar tug again, an unshakable rift where shared ambitions and stark realities threatened to pull her apart. With her heart racing, Emily stared at her phone. Andrew's closing message let us talk about how to fix this dripped with possibility yet felt criminally naive. Could they truly build something meaningful from this unexpected connection, or would ambition pull them apart? Her chest tightened with uncertainty, leaving her hanging on the edge of a decision that could reshape their lives forever. The overhead light flickered, casting shadows on the walls as Emily sat in her tiny kitchen, her heart still pounding from the call. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to soothe the storm brewing within. Andrew's words reverberated in her mind, inviting a mixture of hope and dread. The prospect of change swirled chaotically around her thoughts. She had always craved more, yet the price for that desire seemed to loom larger than ever. As she stared at the sink filled with dishes and the remnants of a half-eaten dinner, reality began to sink in. Could she genuinely consider working with him? Andrew embodied everything she had resisted: wealth, ambition, and a life that demanded compromises she wasn't sure she was willing to make. Mom. Lily's voice broke through her ruminations, cheerful and innocent. The relief of her daughter's presence brought a soft smile to Emily's face, ill-equipped to hide the tension underlying her demeanor. Look at my presentation. It's almost ready. Emily rose and walked to her daughter's makeshift workstation, where illustrations of planets and stars covered every inch of the table. The chaos here was a stark contrast to her mental turmoil, reminding her of the simple joys in her life, a world where Lily's dreams were untainted by corporate interests and adult anxieties. That looks fantastic, honey. I love how you've made the sun so bright, Emily encouraged, kneeling beside Lily. Yet, as she offered praise, the question loomed heavier than ever: would she sacrifice this innocence for her own complicated pursuits? She felt the unbalanced weight of decisions, as if stepping into Andrew's corporate world could reshape not only her future but Lily's as well. At night, as she lay in bed, Emily replayed the call. She couldn't dismiss Andrew entirely. The man who once inspired her ambitions had now offered a lifeline. Maybe she could reconfigure her role at the clinic, not just as an employee but as an architect of its future, signaling a shift towards progress rather than stagnation. Slowly, she began to construct multiple pathways in her mind. Option 1 was to embrace the potentially lucrative opportunity with Andrew, steering the clinic into a sustainable future with the tools she had long desired. However, this option felt perilously close to selling out, a betrayal of her mission to care for the vulnerable in her community. Option 2 involved tucking away her ambitions for the clinic's growth and honing in on what she loved most: hands-on healthcare. But that option felt fraught with limitations, tethering her dreams to mere survival rather than prosperity. The following day found Emily at the clinic, her heart heavy with indecision. The smells of antiseptics and patient conversations greeted her, enveloping her in familiarity and comfort. She caught snippets of conversation from colleagues, voices filled with hope, their excitement palpable as they discussed upcoming community initiatives. Their shared dreams mirrored her own, igniting a spark deep within her. Then, a sudden thought struck her: could she harness Andrew's ambition for the clinic without losing her soul? What if she could allow his corporate connections to enhance their community work while maintaining the clinic's integrity? Instead of choosing one path over another, maybe they could forge a new one together. Riding the swell of newfound determination, Emily began to envision a plan, a way to blend ambition with compassion. She reached for her phone, ready to craft a vision not just for the clinic, but for her own identity within it. Let us talk about how to fix this. Fresh purpose ignited inside her as she typed, her finger hovering over the send button. The stakes had never felt higher. What if Andrew responded positively? Would she have the courage to reshape the narrative into one blending ambition with heart? As she pressed send, a bubble of anticipation filled her chest. The moment of truth was inching closer. Would they create a partnership that fulfilled both their dreams, or would their ambitions ultimately drive them apart? Emily hadn't realized how long she had sat staring at her phone until the vibration startled her. Andrew had replied. His response was concise, yet radiated enthusiasm. He proposed they meet to discuss a potential partnership, suggesting a local coffee shop later that week. As she stood in her kitchen the next morning, preparing breakfast for Lily, the reality of what lay ahead weighed on her. The familiar rhythm of her weekday routine clashed with the nervous energy coursing through her. Could she transform the path ahead? With each spoon as she stirred the oatmeal, doubt crept in, gnawing at her confidence. "You're about to do something huge," she muttered to herself, gripping the counter a bit tighter. She envisioned the display of Lily's stars and planets, symbols of ambition unfiltered by adult fears. Would it be selfish to pursue her own aspirations, even at the expense of misguiding her daughter away from innocence? "Mom. I need my shoes." Lily's innocent plea broke through her thoughts. "Hurry." Emily snapped back into the role of mother, realizing that she needed to be a model of courage for her daughter. "Just a second, honey." With that, she decided today would be about both of their dreams. As she finished getting Lily ready for school, a spark of ambition ignited once more. Emily arrived at the clinic determined. She found her colleague Sarah in the break room, her face alight with excitement. "Did you hear? We got a grant for the wellness initiative." Sarah beamed, the news spreading like wildfire through the staff. "Wow, that's incredible." Emily forced a smile, while her mind swirled with possibilities. Would this initiative fit within her plans with Andrew? Could it open doors rather than close them? Later in the day, as Emily prepped for a patient consultation, she felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety about the meeting with Andrew. She replayed the visions she'd churned over the last few days, ways to integrate his ambition without sacrificing her mission. It felt exhilarating yet deeply daunting. Just before lunch, she caught a glimpse of herself in one of the clinic's mirrors and paused. The woman looking back was layered with complex emotions: an employee, a mother, a hopeful innovator. The self-reflection prompted a stirring revelation: she wouldn't need to compromise her values. Instead, she could become the bridge between two worlds, advancing her profession while fostering compassion for her community. As the hours passed, Emily transformed her ideas into an organized presentation. In the days leading up to her meeting with Andrew, she practiced her pitch, striving to communicate not only her passion for the clinic but her vision for a partnership that entwined his ambition with the heart of their community ethos. The day of the coffee meeting arrived, and Emily stood at the entrance, her heart racing. She took a deep breath, recalling the stars her daughter had drawn. In aligning her ambition with that of Andrew's, could she create a different constellation, entirely a fusion of personal growth that honored both her desires and her responsibilities? As Emily entered the bustling cafe, her eyes scanned the room, anxiety buzzing at her edges. Where was Andrew? Moments passed, and just when she began to second-guess her decisions, Andrew walked in, catching her gaze. His presence radiated confidence, yet there was a spark of curiosity behind his eyes. "Emily, good to see you," he greeted, extending his hand. "I think we have a lot to discuss." Her heart quickened. This was the moment to share her vision, the opportunity to embrace synergy rather than surrender. But as they took their seats, Emily couldn't shake the nagging fear: would this encounter fulfill her aspirations, or would it unravel everything she held dear? The moment felt electric, charged with potential, yet vibrating with the weight of unknowns. Would she lead this conversation toward a bright future, or would it darken with imbalance? As Andrew leaned forward, ready to hear her ideas, Emily realized she'd soon be confronted with the truest test of her resolve. The intersection of ambition and integrity was at hand. As Emily settled into her chair across from Andrew, the ambient noise of the cafe faded into a murmur, replaced by the pounding of her heart. This was a crucial juncture, not just for her career but for her very identity. How she navigated this conversation would define the fabric of her future, interweaving her professional aspirations with the threads of her personal life. "Thank you for meeting with me, Andrew," she began, her tone steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "I've been thinking a lot about how we can align our visions and create something impactful." He nodded, his expression encouraging but guarded. "I appreciate your initiative. Tell me what you have in mind." The words flowed from Emily with newfound clarity. She spoke of the wellness initiative, of the genuine need in their community, and the ways they could leverage Andrew's resources to enhance its reach. The passion she'd nurtured transformed into a vivid tapestry of ideas unfolding before Andrew's eyes. Yet, with each strategic suggestion, she sensed a flicker of skepticism in Andrew's gaze. His questions were precise, probing deeper into her motivations. "What do you really want from this partnership, Emily? Is it just the clinic, or is it something more?" She hesitated, caught off guard. Was it too bold to admit her desire for personal growth, to step outside her comfort zone? The vulnerability gnawed at her, yet a compelling urge to embrace authenticity emerged. "I want to feel empowered," she confessed, meeting his gaze squarely. "Not just for myself, but for my daughter. I want her to see that pursuing your dreams is possible, even when it feels daunting." Andrew's expression softened, and for the first time, Emily saw a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. "I can relate," he admitted. "Building a business is one thing, but I often wrestle with the responsibilities it brings to my personal life. Balance is hard." A warm rush of connection enveloped Emily, breaking her previous trepidation. This was more than a professional relationship. There was a murmur of shared human experience, a recognition that their journeys were intertwined beyond the confines of a coffee shop negotiation. The realization was grounding, and the tension within her began to dissipate. With renewed vigor, she elaborated on her ideas, weaving in her vision of collaboration that served both their ambitions. Imagine a project that marries your innovative approach to health with our grassroots understanding of community needs. We could take strides toward building something significant, she said, her confidence gaining momentum. Andrew leaned back, his fingers stroking his chin thoughtfully. That's ambitious, he replied, his voice reverberating with consideration. But I worry about the scalability. How do we ensure it doesn't lose its essence? The question slashed through her enthusiasm like a knife, igniting her self-doubt. Perhaps the essence lies in the hands of those who understand it best like us, she countered. If we stay true to the mission and engage the community at every step, we can expand without losing sight of what truly matters. As they delved deeper, brainstorming tangible strategies, Emily marveled at the synergy crackling between them. Her earlier trepidations began shifting toward optimism as she discovered a newfound strength in her voice. This was not merely a partnership, it was the genesis of something profound and transformative. Yet, even amidst the momentum, a nagging doubt resurfaced. What if this cooperation distracted her from her core mission? What if it demanded more from her than she was willing to give? Would success come at the cost of compromising her values? Andrew's enthusiasm broke through her ruminations. Let us move forward, Emily. I see potential here. We can make a real impact together. Those words ignited a flicker of fear and excitement within her. Could she navigate this terrain thoughtfully, aligning her blossoming ambitions with her ethics? As their conversation drew to an end, Emily felt a stirring sense of achievement, yet she sensed this was only the beginning. She was no longer just a mother or just a clinician, she was evolving into a force capable of real change. But with newfound power came profound responsibility. Would she buckle under the weight of expectation, or would she propel forth into uncharted territory? And as she left the cafe, a question lingered: what hidden challenges lay in wait as she forged ahead, straddling the line between personal ambition and the roots of her integrity? Stepping out of the cafe, Emily felt the cool autumn air brush against her skin, mirroring the mix of exhilaration and uncertainty brewing within her. The conversation with Andrew had ignited a flame, yet it also left her grappling with the responsibilities that now precipitated from it. Each step felt heavy with the weight of expectation her own, and the burgeoning potential of their partnership. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her from her reverie. It was Lydia, her best friend since childhood, a solid anchor in her life's stormy seas. Hey, Em. How did the meeting go? Lydia's voice carried warmth over the line, inviting Emily to share the news that buzzed in her head. It went really well. We mapped out some intriguing ideas for the wellness initiative, she replied, the words gaining speed as they tumbled out. Enthusiasm surged through her veins, but then came the caveat: but I can't shake this feeling of doubt. What if I'm not prepared for this? What if it takes more than I can give? Doubt's a killer, Em. You've always been the strong one in our friendship. Remember when you first started medical school as a single mom? Lydia reminded her. You broke through that, and this is just another hurdle. Encouragement from Lydia settled uneasily. Emily yearned for affirmation, but rising self-doubt twisted in her gut. What if Andrew expects me to sacrifice too much? She pondered aloud. What if I lose sight of my values chasing success? Ethics don't vanish with success. You're not one to compromise what you stand for, Lydia said. Talk to Andrew about your concerns. Speak your truth. The conversation lingered like a mantra in her head. A crack, a hesitation. Could she really confront the head of the company about her fears? Or would that show weakness, a reluctance to take on challenges? When they hung up, Emily took a deep breath and walked toward the park, the familiar autumn scent of damp leaves and chilly air soothing her mind. The world was transitioning, just like she was. A part of her felt the pull of ambition, while another part was grounded in the reality of her current life as a mother and clinician. Suddenly, she felt a surge of determination. What if she reframed her fear? What if it became a source of strength rather than a roadblock? She could approach Andrew with transparency, expressing both her excitement and her hesitation. This could forge a deeper connection, transforming their partnership into a dialogue of mutual understanding. Back at home, that night, as she helped her daughter with homework, Emily's mind drifted to the next steps. A plan was forming. She would prepare for her next meeting with Andrew by jotting down her thoughts. She would approach him with clarity about her aspirations and the concerns that danced beneath the surface. The act of articulating her worries would empower her, ground her in the relationship they were beginning to cultivate. However, in that moment of resolve, Emily felt a rising tide of apprehension. Would her honesty be seen as strength, or would it expose vulnerabilities? The stakes grew higher. This partnership was starting to feel less like an opportunity and more like a tightrope. As she tucked her daughter in, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, a woman teetering between aspiration and anxiety. She wanted this to work, not just for herself, but for her daughter, for showing her that dreams were worth pursuing. The thought echoed again: could she navigate this new chapter without losing sight of who she was? Tomorrow, she would present her ideas to Andrew. But first, she would need to face her innermost fears. A confrontation with her sense of worthiness awaited. Unbeknownst to her, Andrew was grappling with uncertainties of his own, doubts about whether he could trust this partnership to grow, or if it would crumble under the weight of expectations. And as Emily squared her shoulders, ready to confront her fears, a chilling realization sank in. When the next meeting arrived, it wouldn't just be about business. It would also be about unveiling layers of themselves that threatened to push them apart or draw them closer. What awaited them on that path? The next morning dawned bright and brisk, the sun painting the sky with fiery hues that seemed to beckon Emily toward the day's challenges. After dropping her daughter off at school, she sat in her car for a moment, staring at the steering wheel as if it held the answers to all her uncertainties. The prospect of her meeting with Andrew loomed ahead, a shadow mingling with the light of potential. Focus, she whispered to herself, willing the tension to dissipate. She had spent hours the night before organizing her notes, crafting each point with precision, turning her fears into articulate observations she could present as opportunities for discussion. But was that enough? As Emily slid into her seat at the conference room, the ambience felt charged, the air thick with her anticipation. Andrew entered shortly after, his presence commanding attention as he greeted her with a warm smile that momentarily eased her frayed nerves. Yet, beneath that gleaming professionalism, she sensed an undercurrent of his own unease. "Hi, Emily. I'm looking forward to our discussion today," he started, settling in opposite her. "Me too," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in her mind. The moment stretched, the silence filling with the weight of what was to come. She took a deep breath, remembering Lydia's words, "Speak your truth." It was now or never. "Andrew," she began, summoning, battle her own doubts, but she would likely need to confront the shadows lurking in Andrew's professional demeanor. Would he ultimately uphold the values they were beginning to share, or would ambition steer him off course? The next step in their partnership was approaching, one that would demand both courage and integrity. Emily spent the following days in a daze, words from her meeting with Andrew swirling in her mind like golden leaves caught in an autumn wind. She found herself reflecting more intently on their conversation, particularly his admission about integrity and ambition. Each day blurred together, punctuated only by her routine at home and the few strategic thoughts she'd sketched for their partnership. But as she withdrew from the outside noise, another sound echoed from within her own hesitations. Waking up one morning, she felt a profound urge to take greater ownership of her role. Picking up her tablet over breakfast, she began drafting a more detailed proposal for their initiative, pouring in her insights, concerns, and ethical commitments. It felt both exhilarating and daunting. How much of herself could she truly put on the line? Yet, with each keystroke, something shifted inside her. The act of articulation grounded her, transforming fingers flying over keys into a powerful declaration of self. Later that week, lined up with new ideas and structured methods to present them, she felt a surge of confidence as she prepared to share again with Andrew. Drawing on their previous dialogue, she was determined to be clearer on her expectations, hoping to find out how malleable his principles were when faced with pressure. Arriving at their office, however, she quickly sensed something was different. The air felt denser, charged with an unseen tension as a storm brewed, a stark contrast to their previous meeting. Andrew was deep in conversation with another colleague, furrowed brows and hurried gestures suggesting high stakes were in play. "Sorry to interrupt," Emily said, her heart racing as she approached. The interruption felt like walking into a charged atmosphere, where the slightest misstep could ignite a conflict. "Emily, we'll catch up in just a moment," Andrew replied without meeting her eyes, clearly preoccupied. Emily stood back, fumbling nervously with her notes while the words of Lydia echoed, "Speak your truth." Still, that truth seemed overshadowed in the moment, buried under layers of urgency from Andrew's side while she herself searched for footing. After a few minutes of strained silence, Andrew turned his full attention to her. "I apologize for the chaos. We've been facing unexpected pushback from the board regarding our initiative. It seems like the partnerships we're considering are under scrutiny." His expression was a mixture of frustration and strategic calculation. Emily sensed the pressure he was under, yet felt a sharp pang of concern for how that might influence their goals. "Pushback?" she echoed, trying to mask her uncertainty. "What exactly is the issue?" "The feasibility reports are raising questions about our projected impact. They want to know how our partnership aligns with both our mission and their expectations." As he spoke, Emily caught the flicker of doubt in his eyes, an unspoken question about his own commitment to ethics against the weight of ambitions. Emily felt the foundations shake beneath her professional resolve. "Is this a crossroads for you? For us?" The query slipped out before she could censor it, raw and unpolished. His gaze shifted, searching her eyes as if determining whether he could confide in her. It's complicated," he admitted slowly. "I'm navigating their expectations and my vision for our project. I was hoping we'd both align, but ambition challenges principles." The walls Emily had built to protect her ambitions wavered. She felt compelled to address what lay underneath Andrew's calculated words, the apprehension that mirrored her own. This was no longer just a professional proposal, it was a crucible for their partnership and its defining tenets. "What do you want, Andrew?" Her voice trembled with authenticity, and for the first time she noticed the flicker of uncertainty in him. He was caught between his principles and the relentless grip of ambition. Their gaze locked, and in that brief moment, realization dawned. Each had to decide if they were willing to navigate the storm together or set sail alone. Could they find a way to stand strong against external pressures, or would the weight of ambition fracture their bond before it could truly form? Emily felt the tide of her own doubts rising, pressing her toward a decision that could either fortify their collaboration or send them spiraling apart. Emily's heart raced as she absorbed Andrew's hesitation, the air thick with unsaid words and mounting pressure. Time stretched around them, and she realized she couldn't afford to overthink, not now, when clarity was paramount. The moment felt pivotal, a fork in the road where their individual ambitions intersected. The mere act of confronting their uncertainty could either solidify their relationship or unravel it entirely. "Do we stay true to our intentions, Andrew?" she pressed, refusing to back down. "Can we present a united front despite the board's doubts?" His silence spoke volumes, a powerful counterpoint to her available confidence. "This isn't just about numbers anymore, Emily." His voice held a note of fatigue, and for a moment, she recognized the toll of sustained pressure pressing down on him. "It's about trust. It's about proving we can deliver without compromising our values." As his gaze bore into hers, she felt the weight of his expectations pressing on her as well. The powerful amalgamation of ambition and uncertainty reinvigorated her spirit. "Let us redefine the narrative," she suggested, her voice stronger now, emboldened by the gravity of the situation. "If we lead with transparency and emphasize our ethical foundation, we could align our objectives with their goals. We can prove our worth not just to them but to ourselves." A flicker of hope ignited in Andrew's eyes, but he hesitated still. "But what if that's not enough? What if they don't see the potential?" Emily sensed the urgency in his tone, the shadows of doubt clouding the bright potential that had once existed. Then we redefine what enough means. We enlighten them on our vision, showing that our ethical approach is our strength. We can focus on long-term goals rather than the immediate metrics that may not reflect our actual impact. Emboldened, Emily seized on the moment and laid out her vision, presenting it with a clarity she hadn't felt before. She juxtaposed their goals against the board's pressures, painting a picture of how integrity could be the very asset that set them apart in a challenging landscape. Each idea morphed into a profound revelation, illuminating the path forward like stars twinkling through a fog. She could see Andrew's posture shift slightly, a signal of his softening resolve. The initial pushback from the board was a temporary setback, she asserted, and they could encapsulate their mission in a way that bridged their ethical ambitions with the board's expectations. As their dialogue deepened, Emily noticed Andrew leaning closer, actively engaging in the blueprint she was sketching. It was clear that their collaboration could pivot the course of the initiative. Yet she was intent on not losing herself in their pursuit. This was more than business, it was a partnership still waiting to be forged, one built on genuine trust and shared convictions. Will our integrity be enough to counter their ambitions? Andrew asked, his skepticism resurfacing like a stubborn weed. Their ambitions can't overshadow our core values, Emily replied, gathering all her courage. If we lead with honesty and purpose, we give ourselves the best chance. But we must be willing to fight for it together. And just like that, something crystallized between them. Their partnership was not simply about professional alignment but a profound connection, one marked by shared values and unyielding perseverance. Yet, as the adrenaline ebbed, her heart fluttered with another realization: grappling with the weight of ambition could fracture their bond if they weren't agile enough. Choosing to lean into their shared vulnerability felt like a gamble. It walked the tightrope between personal growth and professional peril. As conversation shifted toward strategy, Emily felt the sinking feeling that this was merely the calms before an uncharted storm. She needed more than hopeful ideas, she required a plan that foresaw potential drawbacks and benchmarks that would withstand scrutiny. Just then, the office buzzed with new energy as the board convened for an emergency meeting. Emily exchanged a glance with Andrew, the unspoken acknowledgement that their moment of truth was upon them. Would they navigate the storm together, or would the weight of ambition weigh heavier than their shared commitment? The echo of their breaths resonated with the adrenaline coursing through her veins, a precursor to the hurdles they would face together. Emily steeled herself. This was it, both a challenge and a revelation of who they could become. As Andrew stood, resolute beside her, the path ahead writhed with uncertainty. But with their hearts aligned and their ambitions ignited, Emily found a resolve brewing within her, one that hinted at the potential to disrupt the status quo. Would they rise to meet the critical challenge that lay ahead, or falter under the ambitious weight of expectations? The conference room felt cavernous, the long table an ocean of polished wood separating them from the members of the board, each poised like hawks ready to pounce. Emily's pulse quickened as she fixed her gaze on the faces staring back, a blend of skepticism, authority, and seasoned wariness. The stakes were sky high, and she was painfully aware of the weight of the moment pressing in on her. Andrew's presence beside her was a steadying force, yet his earlier doubts lingered in the background, whispering concerns that danced between them. She couldn't allow the board's scrutiny to fracture the emerging connection they had forged in the heat of shared ambition. The room thrummed with the energy of unspoken judgments, and she knew they needed to make a compelling case for their vision. "Let us begin," their senior board member, Robert, said, his tone clipped. "We're here to clarify the path forward amidst the current uncertainties. Emily, Andrew, I trust you have insights to share." Emboldened, Emily cleared her throat. "Thank you, Robert. Our proposal not only acknowledges the financial pressures but also redefines our objectives. Integrating ethical practices into our strategic framework is not just a moral choice but a strategic advantage." Her voice rang with authority, drawing immediate attention. As she spoke, images of her daughter popped into her mind, standing at the edge of her dreams, reminding her why this mattered. The thought ignited a fire within her. She wasn't just selling a vision to the board, she was fighting for a legacy that her daughter could be proud of. This was about more than profit margins, it was about integrity, the very essence of who she was. As the slides illuminated the boardroom, transforming sterile statistics into a compelling narrative, she noticed Andrew's expression shift. He was engaged, nodding ever so slightly as she articulated their goals. Each point built upon the last, painting a picture of a future where their commitment to values would create sustainable change. But the moment of triumph was quickly met with resistance. Martha, the head of finance, interjected sharply, "And what assurance can you provide that this approach won't hinder our immediate returns? We're in a competitive industry and can't afford to be idealistic." Emily's breath hitched for a moment. Martha's challenge was both a jab and a reality check. "I completely understand the concern. However, if we treat integrity as merely an option, we risk losing the very trust that makes our company unique." She shifted her stance, firm in her conviction. "The data shows that companies with strong ethical frameworks outperform their competitors over time. By investing in our integrity now, we're laying the groundwork for stronger market positioning." The tension in the room was palpable. She could feel the board's judgment weighing heavily. Andrew spoke up, his voice a soft counterbalance to the rising tension. "The shift may seem daunting, but our potential for innovation has never been greater with an ethical approach. Clients today demand transparency and sustainability. Our commitment to these principles will build loyalty that dwarfs short-term profits." A murmur rippled through the board, a flicker of hope amid the skepticism. Emily seized the moment, leaning into the presence of both her and Andrew. "Together, we can redefine our metrics of success. This isn't just a proposition, it's a commitment to shaping a business model we can live by." She could sense Andrew aligning with her, and together they exuded a strength that felt palpable. Yet, doubts nestled in the edges of her mind. Would their faith in each other be enough to navigate the labyrinthine complexities of the board's expectations? As the conversation rattled on, their arguments flowed like waves, sometimes crashing against the stones of resistance, and at times sliding seamlessly into the shore of agreement. The rhythm felt nearly musical as Emily and Andrew, attuned to one another, countered each query, reframing their objectives into a clearer vision that demanded acknowledgement. Then a shift occurred. The voice of the board chair, Robert, redirected the discussion. "It's clear you both have passion for your mission, yet passion alone isn't sufficient. Show us a grounded execution plan that aligns with our immediate fiscal constraints, and we'll reconsider your proposal." A wave of anxiety hit Emily. The path ahead was dim, fraught with obstacles that now loomed larger than before. She exchanged a quick glance with Andrew, feeling the gravity of the moment pulsate between them. "Let us show you what true alignment with our ethical values looks like," Andrew declared, an edge of determination in his voice. Emily felt a surge of conviction, reminding herself that this was just the beginning of a challenge designed to test them both. She needed to dissect their next steps with precision and clarity, to mold her vision into a framework that they could present to Robert and the board in a way that couldn't be ignored. As the meeting adjourned, uncertainty flickered in every corner of the room. Emily knew they would need to dig deep into their resolve, challenging their own limits of innovation as they crafted a detailed plan that merged ideals with practicality. But as she walked out, a heaviness cloaked her spirit. The gnawing doubt returned, whispering unsettling truths. Was it possible to hold on to their integrity and still meet the crushing demands of the board? She stole a glance at Andrew, whose expression mirrored her turmoil, and in that shared glance shone a glimmer of hope. The moment loomed. What if their best intentions were about to be tested not just by the board but by the realities of navigating ambition itself? As they stepped into the corridor, one question loomed large: could they uphold their values even while walking the razor-thin edge of corporate expectations? Emily spent the following weeks consumed by a torrent of thoughts and preparations. The board's skepticism had forged a crucible for her partnership with Andrew, testing not only their professional resolve but also their shared commitment to the integrity of their vision. Every moment felt heavy with expectation, straddling the line between their ideals and the hard-nosed realities of corporate demands. In the quiet dawn of the morning after their last meeting, she found herself sitting with a cup of coffee in hand, staring out the window. As the world began to awaken beyond the glass, visions of her daughter chasing her dreams skated across her mind. There it was, a reminder of why all of this mattered. Emily had spent her life juggling responsibilities driven by love, but her desire to create meaningful change had finally coalesced into a singular focus. she resolved to tackle the upcoming board meeting with fierce clarity. Each day brought her closer to the next presentation, and her enthusiasm grew alongside her determination. She gathered data, crafted a comprehensive plan, and planned out every potential concern the board might raise. Gone were the days of tentative proposals. Now, she was weaving a narrative that married ambition with ethics, blending innovation with heart. Andrew's trust in her had invigorated her resolve. Together they were creating the foundation for something that transcended business. It was impactful healthcare rooted in community empowerment. When the day of the board meeting arrived, Emily felt a strange blend of nerves and exhilaration coursing through her veins. She walked into the conference room not as a hesitant employee but as a partner embodying the vision they had painstakingly constructed. With Andrew at her side, they were ready. "Good morning, Robert," the board chair greeted them, his demeanor unyielding. "You two have presented a compelling but risky proposition. What assurances can you provide that this approach won't derail our current performance?" Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped forward. Here was the moment she had envisioned. "Thank you, Robert," she began, her voice steady and clear. "What we present today isn't solely about how we navigate immediate returns but rather how we redefine our impact on the lives we touch. By embedding ethical practices into our core strategy, we can turn our community engagement into a sustainable model that bolsters the very foundation of our organization." As she spoke with conviction and purpose, she noticed Andrew's eyes light up, encouragement radiating from him like a beacon. Together, their synergy unfolded a compelling narrative that resonated within the sterile boardroom walls. Throughout the presentation, they showcased tangible forecasts along with ethical commitments, painting a vivid picture of their initiative's potential. Those moments where their ideas lined up like stars felt electric, bridging the gap between ambition and heartfelt purpose. Each statistic and projected outcome was aligned with their mission of fostering an environment of trust and compassion. Despite the undeniable passion in their delivery, the board's apprehensions loomed large. There were still skeptics. Emily meticulously addressed every question that arose, infusing analytical responses with anecdotes from her clinic. "This isn't just theoretical. Our approach offers long-term solutions based on real community needs," she emphasized, her gaze firm and unwavering. As the discussion unfolded, Emily felt the initial hesitations of the board begin to wane. One by one, they started acknowledging the feasibility of their partnership, leading to ideas about concrete implementation and joint objectives. Yet amidst the unfolding acceptance, a critical moment arose. Martha, still a staunch skeptic, leaned forward, challenging them both. "But what if we encounter resistance from your community? What if the demands of your mission and our profitability collide?" A hush fell over the room. Emily felt the weight of the question and realized this was the defining moment to crystallize their commitment to integrity. She turned toward Andrew, willing him to see the strength in vulnerability. "We've discussed this at length. Our partnership is built on navigating those very complexities," she replied. "Transparency breeds trust. If we openly communicate with our community, rather than sidelining them, we can empower them to be an intrinsic part of our evolution. That inclusiveness is our strength, not our weakness. It's how we'll ensure our goals resonate on all ends." The conversations thickened with intensity as Emily and Andrew countered, presenting a unified front, articulating their resolve to build a bridge between ethical considerations and business outcomes. At the close of the meeting, Robert finally interjected. "This proposal presents a different path forward than we expected. Let us consider a pilot initiative that encompasses your objectives, while also grounding it in measurable metrics. We'll draft a revised plan for the upcoming quarter." Relief washed over Emily, but the gravity of the moment remained poignant. They were not merely securing a deal, they were paving a way for sustainable change and redefining their values with unwavering commitment. As they exited the boardroom, Andrew turned to her, his expression multifaceted. "You did it, Emily. This was incredible." His appreciation resounded in her chest as the adrenaline ebbed, leaving a powerful sense of accomplishment in its place. In that moment of shared triumph, Emily understood her journey had transformed her in ways she hadn't anticipated. She was no longer just a mother protecting her daughter's innocence, she was an innovator weaving ambition with heart. She stood firmly in her identity, owning her capacity to drive impactful change. Days turned into weeks as the new pilot program took shape. Emily engaged with the community, listening to their feedback and fortifying the foundational relationships that had always anchored her mission in grassroots healthcare. Finally, as she watched Lily presenting her own school project that week full of enthusiasm and unyielding creativity, Emily recognized that she was walking the path she had believed elusive. Not only had she redefined her professional standing, but she had molded her vision into one that her daughter could admire. That daunting crossroads had transformed into a bridge of opportunity, where ambition coalesced with the essence of compassion. Emily felt a deep sense of pride swell. She had conquered her fears, demonstrated the significance of integrity, and forged a future infused with hope for her family and the community she served. As she looked at Lily's beaming face, Emily understood that she had indeed achieved not just professional growth, but a profound personal evolution where dreams no longer oscillated between ambition and responsibility, but beautifully intertwined. This was her moment, a call to arms for all who shared in the struggle to align purpose with passion. She stepped into her role as a leader, empowered and unyielding, a symbol of change wrapped in authenticity. And so, as her daughter's laughter filled the room, Emily made a pledge to carry that momentum forward, ensuring that integrity would remain at the heart of all she accomplished, not only for herself but for the generations to come. Now is the moment you need to join the journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that showcase profound personal transformations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find these compelling tales of achievement. Don't wait even one more second. Comment your reactions and theories about this riveting conclusion. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful resolution. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the significance of supporting our community through these actions.